And we're live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to This Week in Real Estate, hosted by yours truly, the bearded men of real estate. I'm Ray. Say hi, Dan.
Hi, Ray. Gosh, it's sorry.
Man, you total mess up after
We had a week off. I'm sorry.
166 shows. This is our 167th show, which means we've been doing this right at 4 years. So that's a long time.
I think right around now, I think October of 2017 was around our first show when we tried to go live on YouTube, and we're like, whoa, this is not, we're not ready.
There was no one there. We went live with great enthusiasm in order to display people's comments and talk to them. And it was just me and Dan. That's it.
Yeah.
So
it was pretty awesome.
D Jones is on Facebook. She said, I'd rather be here than Clubhouse. Hey, Beards. She just wants to see our faces. That's why. But if you are joining, you can join from Facebook, just like Dee did, or from YouTube, like Melissa Marr is doing. She says, hey, Melissa, you really got to get an avatar on your, is it still called avatars, profile pictures, whatever?
Let's just call it avatar. Let's be old school. It's cool.
You gotta get something out there to brand it more than the purple M. But you can say something and we could display your comment. You could chime in about any of these news stories that we're going to talk about. We'll also have time if you want to share something in Clubhouse. You'll be able to come up to the stage and then speak, and then your audio will be included in the podcast and clips and all that kind of stuff. We will have a little bit of banter at the beginning of every show. If you don't like the banter, I'll tell you before we have it this time, you can always go down to the description. I know. I usually wait till after the banter, but you can always go down to the description of the show, and there'll be a timestamp with the articles that we're going to talk about. And you can click that timestamp and zoom to that part of the show. So producer Matt does that for us. So thank you very much, producer Matt, who will be watching this later.
And by the way, if you don't like the banter that we do, which everyone loves, but if you don't like it, who hurt you in your life so much?
Why do you hate banter so much?
Why do you hate banter? And is it just our banter, or is it all banter? You just don't want any banter. By the way, right now I'm bantering.
He's bantering
just to anger you even more.
He's force feeding your banter, really.
This is a captive audience. You have to watch the banter right now because the links aren't there yet. You have to watch the banter live.
That's right. I will also say that you can bypass the banter with our chops. So the other thing that producer Matt does is he'll take each one of the news stories that we talk about and he will chop them, get its facial hair reference, but he will chop them into smaller bite-sized pieces and then release those on our YouTube channel as well. So if you're not following the YouTube channel, please be sure to hit the link, subscribe. We really want to see this thing grow so that we can keep doing it. And the only way for it to grow is for you guys to share it, especially if you're on Facebook. There's zero organic reach now using Facebook pages, which is where we broadcast from. So if you're on Facebook, you can do a lot for us by sharing the show, letting other people know it's out there.
You don't even have to say that you like us. Just hit share, and
you can actually
enter. That's it.
You actually might send more views if you're like, I hate these guys, and then post it. I mean, there may be a lot of debate. You may spark
look at their dumb faces talking about dumb real estate, big dumb dummies, and then share. All
right, so let me give you a rundown of the stories that we're going to cover today. We're going to talk about the NAR president. We normally don't do a lot of op-ed pieces, but this one was written by the NAR president versus the DOJ. So the Department of Justice, he's telling them to step up and honor the agreement. So he does an op-ed, gets that out there. We'll see if that works. We're also talking about, was that cynical?
that was so sarcastic laden. That was amazing. We'll see if that works.
OpenDoor is doing iBuyer offers on listings in real time. Is that news, Dan? Maybe not news, but here's what's news to me. They're doing it on realtor.com. Wondering how this impacts the licensing agreement for the Realtor name.
Our website that we gave away.
Right, we gave it away. So I wonder if the National Association of Realtors can maybe get that back, since OpenDoor is going to be bypassing us agents to make offers and purchase homes using a website bearing our name. How convenient.
Great.
So we'll talk a little bit about that. I want some opinions on that, fellas and ladies. Mortgage rates, they're going to an 8-month high. So how's this impact mortgage demand? Is it cooling? Is housing cooling? Is there more inventory? Case Schiller says it is.
Is housing going to go underwater, right?
So Zillow is in that boat too. They're like, we're not buying anymore. So we're going to talk about Zillow halting their iBuying. CoStar says Zillow's StreetEasy is blackmail. So we'll get into why. Desktop appraisals are permanent in some cases. Foreclosures, and Ron Bruno's here. He could talk a little bit about desktop appraisals in the FHFA maybe. Foreclosures are surging now that the Rona mortgage bailouts are ending. So we'll talk about that. Chicago is going under, literally. Billions in aid are still available to struggling renters. But why hasn't Georgia given out any? Matt is in the house, and maybe he could chime in on that. That was a little shade thrown early. And then LA unveiled its U.S. largest, the largest prefab tiny home village.
Right. Yeah.
It's for the homeless. So it's a $5.1 million community.
It's not a library for ants, Ray.
No. He sent me the image. I sent back the Zoolander gif. Yeah. What the heck is this? Library for ants? You know that.
We did, Julie. We said Georgia just so you would comment.
In the house. She's on YouTube, not in the house right now though, but that's cool. All right.
Just like Ray, when we mentioned tiny homes,
Christina M. Smallhorn
she'll show up in a minute.
All right, so you ready to get into these headlines, Dan? 100%. Actually, before we get into these headlines, would you tell people what This Week in Real Estate is actually all about?
I don't know if it applies anymore.
It's kind of now that we have a title that explains pretty much exactly what it is, it's fairly self-explanatory.
Yeah, I don't really need to, but when Ray and I met here on the interwebs 27 years ago, when I was 50 at that time,
right?
I had an idea for a show, and it wasn't called This Week in Real Estate, but
no,
I had an idea called the Bearded Men of Real Estate, because
which we still happen to be.
I'm literally rewriting this live as we go.
You're gonna have to redo it. It's gonna be new.
I am in fact a bearded man of real estate. When I met Ray, I noticed something very interesting about him.
What'd you notice, Daniel?
He learned how to do a kickflip on his skateboard when he was 12 years old. Did you guys know that?
I was about 13, and so I was kind of more into the rollerblading stuff, but I had one of those wide Nash boards. And for a long time, I thought those wide Nash boards were most, you know what I'm talking about, the Nash that had the decorative grip tape all over it. So for the longest time, I couldn't really do anything on it. So we would basically use those skateboards as luge. And so, because they were wide, right? So we would lay on them and just down the hill on our street. And it wasn't until I was a teen that I was like, oh, you could do other things like kick flips and tricks and stuff. So yeah, I was about 13. I learned to do a kick flip. I shortly then went more into the rollerblading thing. I was more of a blader.
See, I did a similar trajectory, and my skating career started when I was 11 or 12. Learned how to ollie at 11, then could do a kick flip by 12. But for me, your 13 years old was 96. My 12 years old was 1985.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a
different.
It was a newer thing, in 85. But anyway, I did not know that about Ray. I made that up, but hey, he learned that when he was actually
weird stuff. To quote Glenda Baker, Ray is the king of weird bullshit. That's what she said. I'm not gonna say the word because I don't want to get censored by YouTube.
He's a very
that's weird.
Yeah, there's a lot of things about him that people don't know. So I just literally make something up every week, and usually I think we're at 100%. I think there may be one where you're like, not really. So 99.9% of the time, he's got a story based on something. But no, the show is actually about, what I noticed about Ray, he's a beautifully bearded man. But what I also noticed is that he loves giving value up front to not only his clients, but also just to humans in general. So the show is about This Week in Real Estate. Wait, it doesn't work.
It'll work. It's fine. And one of the things that we believe in having value and providing value is to know what in the world is going on in real estate, which is why we have this show. As Ellis Home Inspections, Patrick Ellis says, so many topics today. We do have a ton of topics because we think these are important for you guys to know. And if you know them, then you can help your clients with their largest investment. And we do have a lot of consumers that check out the show too. So I appreciate that. We got some shout outs while I was away. Some folks were like, where are you? So I did. I went on a little vacation for a little while. We did the Tom Ferry Summit. And then there was so much information to digest. I came back for like a week and just put everything on hold and was like, okay, one day I'm going to have time to think about this stuff. And then I wound up going to the beach. And the goal was to spend maximum amount of time at the beach, but also to like try to get away and process some of these things that may be coming up in 2022 and, growth of business and growth of our podcast in general. And what I figured out was it takes 3 days for my head to not be mush anymore. So it was only like the last 2 or 3 days that I was able to actually think about the future, but I appreciated the time away. And then I came back, and the last 2 days I went to a mastermind group in Nashville with some amazing. I was like a kid in the candy store. Like I felt like these were some of the top brains around the country in real estate. And I just got to hang out with them and soak up the information they had. So it was a lot of fun. And then D says, not a kickflip. Do that kickflip at a showing.
Or you can call it if you don't have a lot of time to get that house flipped, you call it a quick flip.
Yeah, quick flip. Actually, I'll post later. I'll post I have a video of me recently doing a flip. It's not a kick flip.
A new one?
It's a flip. Yeah. I try every couple of years to do a front full.
And the twist, right?
Yeah.
It's awesome.
It's weird.
How do I say this? Ray's if you've never met him in real life, he's a bigger man. He's my height.
Yeah.
But he's a little wider than I am.
Twice, probably.
Yeah. We're about the same height, and then he's a little wider than I am. Twice as wide.
Yeah.
But he's also very agile. He can do a front full, which is awesome to watch.
Strange for a big guy. All right. Yeah. So without further ado, you ready to get into these headlines?
Now we are, yes.
All right, let's do this. All right, here we are. And the first one we're going to talk about today is the NAR. Oh, you know what?
Sorry.
I totally almost forgot to produce the show.
My cat. Ow.
What's happening?
My cat's biting my foot.
So for whatever reason, why is it doing this? Oh, there it is. All right, here we go.
So many obstacles. There you go.
NAR president to DOJ, step up and honor the agreement.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, you should. And so I'm going to kind of paraphrase what he said. You can find this whole article, this whole op-ed on Inman. But basically the gist of it is kind of what we'll hit. So you should be able to count on the Department of Justice to honor an agreement. And yet, in a complete breach of commitment and legal precedent, the DOJ backed out of an agreement with the National Association of Realtors that would more explicitly state the spirit and intent of NAR's Code of Ethics and the MLS guidelines in some key areas. NAR has forged ahead at our annual conference in November, blah, blah, blah. It's kind of telling everyone what we've talked about in the past, which I'm not going to go into great detail. What does this all come down to? This is about defending a fair and competitive market. Because of multiple listing service, we're seeing unprecedented competition among brokers, especially when it comes to service and commissions. Many new and small businesses competing specifically on commission with varied commission models and flat fees. I think he said commission like 10 times in that sentence.
Yeah.
For every home that's for sale by brokers, it generates roughly 88,000 in local economic activity. I thought that was an interesting statistic.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
For every home sale by one of those brokers, it generates roughly $88,000 in local economic activity.
That
would
really
be a cool little. I feel like that's a cool little post that you can.
Yeah, because it helps the small business, which most of us are, right? And then it also helps if a new family moves to that area, they're going to go to the local shops and stuff and spend money. Yep. That's a really interesting statistic. That's awesome.
Overall, real estate accounts for nearly 18% of the nation's GDP. This is about promoting fair opportunity to own a home. So he's got these little section headings, which I'll kind of be focusing on, and then just the summary of that at the front. The approach of listing broker paying the buyer's broker commission ensures greater access for first-time, low-income, and many other home buyers who otherwise can't afford to purchase a home and hire professional representation. This is the key that I've been trying to get them to drive home ever since we started getting sued for buyers to pay their own commission.
Forever ago. What, yes. A year and a half ago this started, right?
Especially now that it's a super competitive market and buyers don't even have enough money to do appraisal gaps or down payments, and they're struggling for the affordability. If you put a real estate fee on top of that, or you say, you know what, you can't pay the real estate fee, that's fine. Just use the licensed realtor for the listing. And so now there's a professional negotiator going up against hardcore someone trying to buy their first home.
Right.
It just puts people at a disadvantage who are already disadvantaged.
Right.
So that's a big point that I'm glad he's pushing in this. And then this is about giving small businesses a fair chance to earn a living.
100%.
Realtors, 88% of whom are single offices, typically with 2 full-time real estate agent licensees, are working hard every day to best serve their clients to make a living, despite one-off claims of online let me skip all this stuff. Okay. Real estate agents serve a critical role in providing equitable opportunities for those consumers. Real Trends, Colorado-based research firm, cited that the average commission slid to its lowest ever in 2020. Ooh, commission compression is something that the Tom Ferry Group's been talking a lot about over the last several years. All right, and this last big point that he said, this is about fair expectation that the government agency will stick to an agreement. Dun, dun, dun. It's particularly true when it's an agreement that advances a pro-consumer, and pro-competitive local real estate markets. NAR worked in good faith with the DOJ to come to an agreement that expects the same in return. Ooh. Wow.
So, okay.
And he does say case law supports the fact that they're required to live up to their contractual obligation.
That's the biggest thing. So they agreed to this, and it wasn't just the DOJ reached out and said, "Hey, NAR, can you do this, please?" in an email. And we said, "Yeah, we'll do that." And then they backed off of their email. This was a full court case, and this was we all agreed to it, right?
Yeah. DOJ said, okay, here's our, what was it called? An initial settlement or something like that.
Yeah, here's our terms. Here's what we want you to do. And we were like, yeah, let's do all that. That we believe that'll help everyone and be more transparent. And part of that was allowing buyers agents commissions to be seen. And I don't think it was part of it, but it kind of was the what is it? The full transparency when you're, the anti-competitive, trying to get rid of pocket listings, all that stuff. We all tried to be better, right? And then they went, nah, never mind. We were just kidding. We want to sue you guys again. And so my question is this, because we've been saying since this happened, when is NAR going to respond? And they've responded in kind of little increments, but is this the gauntlet? Is this the final, like the NAR has the final infinity stone and they're finally going at the DOJ? Is this the gauntlet we've been waiting for?
I mean, what you remember, their first response was like, hey, they said they weren't going to hold up to their end of the agreement, but we're confident that we're good. We will serve consumers. That was basically it. So this is probably the strongest they've gone after them.
And this is the direct, actual with
an op-ed.
Yeah, this wasn't just an opposing editorial that he wrote that said like, no, we don't like this. You need to do this. He was actually stats and facts in there and saying, dude, if you do all this stuff, first of all, he ended it with, first of all, you already agreed to this.
Yeah. And there's case precedent.
You should be honoring this. But here's all these other stats why you should honor this.
Do you think it was a mistake for the National Association of Realtors to already change what they're doing before the settlement was in place?
No, because I think the changes were, it was.
Yeah, but didn't the government lose their leverage? I mean, once we already implemented it, then they could basically back out and come to us for more stuff.
I guess, but that's what we agreed to. And we were honoring our side of the agreement. They weren't honoring theirs, which is the agreement thing to do.
Like the start date of that agreement was not in place yet. So it's almost like we kowtowed too early.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe.
Well, so on one hand, Charlie is making waves, trying to go after the DOJ. I don't think any other news outlet picked up that story that I noticed, but hopefully they will. And this is where you guys can maybe come into.
And by the way, we have to remember when we see comments from Ryan, by the way, thank you for all the comments on YouTube. It helps us a huge amount. When we see comments from Ryan, it's not Ryan, it's actually his wife.
Yeah. Ryan says, taking the consumer advocacy angle is the angle NAR is needed to take from the beginning. It's good to see this finally coming out strong. Yeah. Totally agree. Palm Beach is Paul. What's up, guys? Hey, man. Thanks for joining us.
Hi.
All right. So on one hand, I think realtors, NAR, National Association of Realtors, are doing some good work here. But on the other hand, OpenDoor to make iBuyer offers on listings in real time at Realtor.com. Users of
weird.
The National Association of Realtors trade name Realtor.com will now be able to, I added that little part, will now be able to see a preliminary offer from OpenDoor in real time via the search portal's, quote, My Home dashboard. It was announced Wednesday. Users of real estate listing site Realtor.com will now be able to offer iBuyer OpenDoor real time while browsing the site. This move is evolution of partnership that formed between the two companies in July of 2020 when Realtor.com launched its sellers marketplace, where consumers could learn more information on different home sale options, like working with an iBuyer or sell leaseback program. What? The sellers marketplace provides consumers with access to similar companies that provide alternatives to the traditional transaction. Oh, wait, hang on. let me reword this. The sellers marketplace also provides this. Let me reword it one more time. The sellers marketplace of Realtor.com also provides consumers with access to other similar companies that provide alternatives to realtors, including EasyKnock, HomeGo, WeBuyHouses.com, while simultaneously educating them about the pros and cons of going out on the open market without a realtor.
So the website that we started and we have since loaned to someone else is now steering people away from us with our name on it. The website with our name on it is now steering people away from us.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's awesome.
So what now, Charlie?
Yeah.
What are we going to do?
Hey, great job on the DOJ stuff. What's up now? Can we get Realtor.com back, please?
I mean, it only seems it's got to be some kind of violation of the license agreement to be promoting anti-realtor stuff.
And we've looked this up. We cannot find the licensing agreement. So, because I would love to read.
Yeah, Ryan Bokros, do you have that? Mike Elizabeth Riddell says Realtor.com is officially redheaded stepchild. Everyone hates.
Whoa, dude. I'm careful. Cheese and rice. I'm going to say Mike said that one. Elizabeth would never say anything like that.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Jeez, Mike coming in hot on a Wednesday morning.
Okay, so I want you guys to chime in. What's going on? Dusty Martin says, insert GIF. That's suspicious. Michael said, we love you, Dan. Ryan says, but is it? I'm understanding it that these offers go out to listed properties.
But We Buy Houses is not listed properties.
Yeah, We Buy Houses is not listed.
That's like
but
we
also,
sell ugly houses or whatever.
These are consumers that are looking into listing their house.
Right.
It's not consumers that have already listed their house.
And does anyone, Ray, I don't know, is anyone flashing their mic on CH?
Yeah,
Anna has hers unmuted.
Clubhousers, if y'all want to chime in, feel free to chime in. Just flash your mic and I'll come to you. I know on Clubhouse, a lot of times you'll like do other things on your phone while you're listening. So you may not be able to get to your mic right away. But if you are, you can either send me a message on the back end or just flash your mic. I'll come to you.
Yeah, or me too. I'm helping produce now, although I don't look at my phone a lot during the show, but I'm helping quote unquote produce.
Yeah, I need to have the phone like right here, but then that covers up part of the screen. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Well, I also sent Ray a message on Messenger, but he's got 80 things going on, so I just said it on the show live. It's good.
You know, what's funny is whenever I saw that message come through, my first thought was, doesn't Dan know how many windows I currently have open?
It's part of the reason I sent it partially because of that.
I can't check that. Man, I'm sure Michael Elizabeth Riddell says, I sure wish I could pay dues into a group that actually helped my business.
So I have a funny story.
Fighting the DOJ.
Yeah, which is a huge fight. We appreciate you for doing that, Charlie. But hey, let's fight more than one thing. But I have a funny story, and I won't say it on the show. If you want, maybe I'll share it on Instagram or something. You can follow me. It's D-Ledger Rocks. But I'll share it over there. But it was about like, hey, I pay you guys dues. I was asking for help, and they were like, nope, we can't help you. I'm like, wait, what?
I did see that they had time to come after a couple of real estate YouTube channels because they're using the word realtor. So luckily, they still have time to do that.
Great.
Okay. I'm just saying. Melissa Mara says, Ray, we need a photo of your setup so we can all see how nuts it is. I should do that one day, but I'm going to tell you also that my office is a complete wreck because of all the vacation time. I'm going to be taking that on this evening. It is so bad. Like there's nowhere to walk. I have
he literally has
gear and equipment and all that stuff.
He's done a tour on this. Obviously, we're on side notes here, but he's done a tour on RETV. If you're not part of that, it's a really awesome. It's a video based page on Facebook for real estate agents, real estate TV, and it's really awesome. He's done a tour on there, so his walls are actually black. They're full black, right? Yeah. So, and then he's got the subtle lighting behind him, but you can't see all of the other stuff that's going on.
Which is why it's so dark and black. I mean, I have like a black tin ceiling too, which is cool. And this week or next week, I'll have like an electrician coming in to put some more of my auto lights and stuff like that in. But it's Cribs Ray, Minute Pages. Who's Minute Pages? Minute Pages says Cribs Ray. Minute Pages also says, can we sell NAR to Be More? So that we can get some competent leadership. Wow. That is high faith. And I don't know if you know how much money we make from this show, but it's it's a little short.
We're a little short on the capital to purchase NAR by about all of it. Yeah.
Tiny bit.
But we appreciate
MP is Pete Thorpe. There you go. Ray's shirts make me hungry. This shirt says, call me. Get it?
Sweet.
Call the hogs.
Get it?
Big Suey. Yeah.
Oh, the Razorbacks. I get that. The only college football team in the nation.
That's right.
Yeah.
Melissa Mars said he has a trail from the door to the desk. I actually that door is covered up. It's the secret door over here that I have a trail to and fro. Yes, it's really bad, guys.
Through it.
It's bad.
And by the way, just to note, if you guys hate the banter,
you can't. You're too into it now.
You're way too far in the show. We're bantering during the show. We apologize.
Yeah. Does anyone want to comment on these two stories before we get into the other about the National Association of Realtors? I'm looking at Clubhouse. I'm looking at Clubhouse now. Flash your mic if you want to comment on the NAR versus DOJ or the NAR Realtor and OpenDoor being able to. No. Okay. All right. Fine. Just drop your comments later, y'all. Just drop your comments down below later.
Yeah.
All right. So next up, mortgage rates rise to an 8-month high, tanking refinance demand. But what's that doing for purchase volume? Mortgage rates have been on a tear this month, rising yet again last week to its highest level in 8 months, according to the Mortgage Bankers Association. That caused a mix of demand for mortgages last week, resulting in no change from the week before. What? Refinance demand fell 2% to the seasonally adjusted volume. It was 26% lower than the same week a year ago. And remember, last year it was like going crazy. The refinance share of mortgage activity decreased to 62.2% total applications. Mortgage applications to purchase a home increased 4%, but were 9% lower than the same week a year ago. I don't feel like, given all the craziness that happened in the last year, 9%. I don't feel like 9% is a huge down. I mean, it still went up 4%.
Well, I've read this whole article. Are there any more points you wanted to make on this one?
Just this one quote by Joel Kahn. He is the Mortgage Bankers Associate Vice President of Economic Industry Forecasting, I think. It was from memory. Let's see if that Joel Kahn, MBA's Associate Vice President of Economic Industry Forecasting. Yes, I was right.
Yes.
He says both new and existing home sales last month were their strongest sales pace since early 2021. But first-time home buyers are accounting for a declining share of activity. That's the interesting part. But what did you pull from this one?
Okay, so the headline is mortgage rates rise to an 8-month high, tanking refinance demand. Then you read the entire article and you're kind of like, okay, maybe refinances are down, but everything else is still pretty awesome. And what did rates go up to, Ray? 3.3%. Like they're not even at 3.5% yet. And then this last, I think it was the very last quote or the last blurb in the article, but it says mortgage rates edged down slightly to start the week, but that could be just a brief reprieve before next week. The Federal Reserve is widely expected to announce next Wednesday that it will taper its purchases of mortgage-backed bonds. That should send rates even higher. But as you read it, like, there's not really anything negative in this article. Just the headline is so gnarly. They just want everything to be negative, but there's a lot of good stuff in the article. It's like, oh, okay, cool. So first time buyers are getting a larger chunk. That's down a little bit, but they're getting a large chunk of the market now. That's great, because interest rates are still historically low. Like, there's a lot of really good stuff in the article. And I was like, they just made up a headline. Like, how can we just get some eyeballs on this?
Well, that's what I mean. The sad part about where we are today in news, except for the Bearded Minute Real Estate Show. Well, I shouldn't say. I mean, we did have a pretty incendiary thumbnail, but the sad part about today's news is that they're trying just to get the clicks. And if they could get the clicks, then they get the advertising dollars. If they get the advertising dollars, they don't really care if you read the article or not.
So you know why you guys can trust us? We don't have any advertising dollars. Zero.
Yet. We have had some people inquire, but it's just not worked out yet. Yeah. But now with the new show title, I mean, hopefully the number of viewers and everything will go way up. So here we are. Okay, let's get to this next article too. Then it's kind of related to the increase in purchase applications. The home prices in August hinted at a possible cooling in the market,
which we've been saying for months, right?
Yep. This is the closest they've come to home price gain slow. It says there are signs that price growth could be cooling off in the otherwise red hot housing market. Prices rose 19.8% year over year in August, which was the same as the previous month, according to S&P CoreLogic Shiller indices. That's the first time that the annual growth has increased since early 2020. So let me reread that.
Wait.
Prices rose 20% year over year. That's amazing. I mean, if we were looking at those numbers a couple of years ago before all this, we would say, "Whoa, this is nuts." But it's like, yeah, it's up 19.8%.
Cool whip. I don't know. Pete said to say cool whip.
Cool whip. Craig Lazara. I'm not your monkey. I'm not going to dance for you. Craig Lazara is a managing director and global head of the index investment strategy, the S&P Dow Jones Industrial
Indices, blah, blah.
Yeah. He said, we have previously suggested that the strength in the U.S. housing market is being driven up in part by a reaction to the pandy. As you guys know, that's short for the Rona pandy. As potential buyers.
Pandy 2.0, remember?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. A variant. As potential buyers move from urban apartments to suburban homes. August data also suggests that the growth in housing prices, while still very strong, may be beginning to decelerate.
Slow.
Home price gain slow. Y'all, we're here.
We're getting there.
Just make it the headline.
Just make it the headline. We've been saying this for months. Just make it the headline.
Yeah. Price gains were partly fueled by a drop in mortgage rates in July and August. Now the mortgage rate's going back up. That's expected to slow. They're unlikely to cool significantly as both homebuyer demand and investor demand are still high. And this is something that we also talked about in the networking group too. It seems like investor demand is super high as you have more and more investment groups and BlackRock and all these other groups that are buying up homes en masse.
Can you read that first sentence again?
Home prices, however, are unlikely to cool significantly.
Wait. What's the title?
Let me go back up. Home prices in August hinted at a possible cooling.
Okay, wait. Now, home prices, however, are unlikely to cool significantly.
That's right. It'll cool. We're just talking about like refrigerator cool, not freezer
significantly.
Cool. Right.
Oh, okay.
I mean, this is like, not meat drawer. We're talking veggie drawer.
Yeah, just a crisper.
Yeah. Home prices will crisp.
They're home prices are being put in the crisper. Because then there's a next one. So I literally wrote like, wait, what? Before that one you just read. And then the next one I put in all caps, wait, what? And this is a quote from Selma Hepp. She's a deputy chief economist over at CoreLogic. Persistently strong demand among traditional home buyers has been amplified by an increase in demand among investors this summer, which mirrors that previous quote. While strong home price appreciation rates are narrowing the pool of buyers, particularly first-time buyers, the depth of the supply and demand imbalance and robust demand among higher income earners will continue to push prices higher. What? The title isn't anything like this. So she just said prices are going to keep going higher, but they're going to be in the crisper, apparently.
Yeah. Home price
this
gains
stuff boggles my mind. It just boggles my mind. So I just want them to say it. Home price gains slow. Say it.
Right. Yeah. As Pete Thorpe is saying, it only went up 18%, not 20%. The sky's falling.
Yeah.
All right. So speaking of the sky falling, bidding wars are starting to cool off, which, it's a hot market. If your sign of the market slowing is that there's still multiple offers, but there are fewer multiple offers. Okay. Bidding wars are starting to cool off. This one is from Housing Wire.
Everything's cooling off.
Yeah, for the fifth consecutive month, the number of bidding wars on home sales declined, according to a new report from the brokerage Redfin. Which how do they get all this data? In September, 58.9% of offers written by Redfin agents ended up in a bidding war, lowest rate so far in 2021. I've been able to successfully write offers that keep my clients out of bidding wars. Are they not trained on that? All right. Anyway, sorry, a little shade there. It was on par for September of 2020. Bidding war rate of 58.3% then too. A month prior, 60.8% of offers were written by Redfin agents for face competition.
And I want to know what constitutes a bidding war. Is that just means multiple offers? Because if there's 10 offers, but I write the best one, is that a bidding war? Or is it like, all right, cool, we have 5 competing offers and they keep going higher and higher? That's what I want to know. What do they call, what do they consider a bidding war? You know what I mean? Because this is only from Redfin. We have to remember that they're just, every time they write this article about bidding wars, it's only from Redfin.
It's only their agents that they're, and it's smart of them to track what their agents are doing and all that stuff. That's pretty cool that they get all that data.
Yeah. Data.
It's typical to see a decline in competition as families head back to school and the weather cools down. Redfin's deputy chief economist Taylor Marr said in a statement, buyers also aren't having to offer as much above asking price as they were in the spring when competition in the housing market was peaking. As mortgage rates continue to rise, we expect wars to keep slowing. But I think that only happens if inventory continues to soften. Or I guess rise. Yeah. If you have inventory continuing to rise, then you have more homes available for fewer buyers that are looking. But what we know historically is that people also tend to pull their home off the market during this time of year. So you have fewer buyers, but you also have fewer homes on the market. So you wind up fighting over the same homes. So it's kind of 6 in one, half dozen the other, I think is the old phrase. So we'll see if that continues. Let's just keep going. Speaking, we're going to forge ahead. That's a terrible transition, but here we are. All right, so let's talk Zillow. Everyone sent this article to me last week, which I really appreciate you guys when y'all send me the articles. It makes our job easier in prepping the show. Zillow halts iBuying.
I sent it first, by the way. I'm just kidding. I'm really competitive. I'm just kidding.
All right. So with the shortage of labor and materials pressing on the timelines to renovate and sell homes, Zillow announces it would stop signing new contracts with its iBuying program, Zillow Offers, for the remainder of 2021. That set a wave of status checks for other iBuyers in the space. Are other companies still making offers? Yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
So this came to us by a screenshot of someone that had inquired and were starting the process with the Zillow iBuyer, I think it was. And they said, hey, we no longer are going to purchase your home. We're no longer interested in purchasing your home because we're not buying anymore until next year. OpenDoor, the largest iBuyer in the space, said in a statement issued after Zillow's announcement that it was still open for business to continue Scale and Go, which now we know is Realtor.com.
Right.
We know how important it is to certainly, and we know how important certainty and convenience are to homeowners seeking to move. And we worked hard over the past 7 years to ensure that we can deliver our experience at scale. So I feel like this is a real opportunity for investors. When iBuying first started happening, which, by the way, that's the verb we created. When iBuying first took the market by storm, there were a lot of people that said this is a replacement for agents. Agents are going to be replaced. And yeah, for some instances it has, but at the same time, I thought it was more of a fight against investors.
Right.
Where now an investor that wanted to do a soft flip, where all they had to do was replace floors, paint, and make it smell nice and get it right back on the market. Now they have real competition from Zillow and from OpenDoor and from all these other companies that would come in and basically be doing the same thing at scale. And because they were doing it at scale, Zillow gets contractors cheaper, materials cheaper, supplies cheaper, and can buy and can pay more for the houses.
Right.
So they would basically be willing to pay more than your local one-off, two-off investor would be. Yeah. So I feel like we've seen the rise of the institutional investors in part due to Zillow. Now you have investors that are starting to pull their funds together to basically be doing the same thing.
And I think that my first question on this was,
is that the T?
That's the T, sis. My first question on this was, because, and it's funny too, you read the CEO statement and they're not stopping buying or iBuying for any other reason other than they have a quote unquote operational backlog, which I find it interesting. But if all these other ones like OpenDoor are buying more homes than Zillow is, are they able to still get all the construction materials and labor and have all the costs covered? Or like, why aren't they pausing? Because,
does that mean that they've had too much interest? That they have basically people are beating down their door and they can't process fast enough, so they just turn it off completely?
Yeah, and that's what I mean. It is a very CEO thing to say, but operational backlog means, hey, we bought a lot and now we're going to go ahead and actually flip them or hold on to them and market them. There you go. Operational backlog. So I think it's very interesting that they paused, and Zillow is the largest, right? But then OpenDoors, they bought a lot lately as well. But it's interesting that they're still moving forward. Are they going to run into these same issues as well and then have to have an operational backlog? What I noticed,
Redfin now is still iBuying.
Huh?
Redfin now, they're still iBuying in 29 of their markets.
Yeah, so it does say, the article does say iBuying activity has increased in the second quarter. And this is from Mike Del Preet, a real estate technology strategist who studies iBuying patterns. But he mentions at the end of this quote, iBuying, I just love that. iBuying overall still makes up a very small share of the housing market, about 1% of sales. Yeah. So that's a very small number. That's not like they're up into the 20% where they're taken away from us. It's still that investor.
I think it's competition for investors mostly.
Exactly. And then he goes on to say the iBuying company's process to decide which homes to buy and how many is fueled by high-tech algorithms and large pools of capital, often backed by Wall Street. iBuyers have access to tremendous amounts of data so they can see months into the future and plan their inventory. Del Preet says, so the fact that Zillow didn't see this coming and wasn't able to make adjustments before it had to resort to iBuying lockdown is pretty surprising. There's only so much that technology can do. And at the end of the day, you need people to process a lot of transactions. So that's kind of what leads me back to, are these other iBuying programs going to pause as well?
Do you think it had, I think probably not. I think I'm just kind of mentally processing this. I wonder if it had anything to do with the privacy constraints now put on by iPhone users, and to where they're not sharing they're no longer trackable on a lot of the platforms. But then I'm thinking, well, Zillow has first party trackable, right? Yeah. And I don't think the iPhone took that away. I think if you're logged onto your account and you're searching for Zillow, they can still see everything you're doing.
Because you said it was okay.
Which is one of the pieces of technology they use. That's one of the pieces of data they use to know where they're going to be buying next. And it's long been stated that they're buying up large swaths of homes and then overpaying for one to set a new comp and then starting to sell that way. So they're basically driving up prices on consumers. Yeah. I don't, some people have data with that. I wish they would publish it and say, here's the data, because I haven't really found anything firm on that, but that's what some are saying. But that's interesting. They're in a weird spot. We've also talked about at length how a lot of these iBuying companies haven't made money, but they've been huge losses. None of them have. And they're hey, instead of losing 800 million this year, we only lost 400 million. So that's mind-boggling to me. But I think maybe they're all playing the long game. We've also stated in the past that Zillow's not really, they don't have to be that worried at making $10,000 or $20,000 off that one flip,
right?
Because they're
selling it right back to
refer out all the leads and inquiries from that, and they can make $80,000 from that one listing that they're now paying above market for and then selling below market for.
And it's just an operational cost.
Right. It's just like someone buying a billboard.
Which is kind of what
which I don't know, like what's OpenDoor do? Like how, they're still losing money, but they don't have that model.
Right.
I don't think. So it's we'll keep an eye on the iBuying. If any of you guys have tips, or if you're seeing things happen in the marketplace, we'd love it if you'd send us a message and say, hey, this is happening here, or this, here's what's going on in my market, so that we can bring that up next time. But keep your eye on iBuying, and let's see what happens. Are you ready to talk about New York real estate?
When am I not? Yeah.
CoStar CEO likens Zillow's StreetEasy to blackmail. Whoa. Andy Florence on Tuesday positioned his company's upcoming New York City portal as an alternative to Zillow's own StreetEasy. Now, I'm not too familiar with StreetEasy, so maybe some of you in the chat or in Clubhouse who are New York real estate agents.
Is that the rental one?
To how it works. I think there's no Zillow in New York. They only have the StreetEasy program.
I think
about that.
It was like a month ago. We had someone from New York saying they said, hey, this StreetEasy is free. It's free. It's free. It's free. It was the Microsoft model. It was free until it wasn't. Now everyone has to, because they invited the vampire in. Now everyone has to go through that vampire to list their rentals. I think that was it. Isn't this company?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
So blackmail is too strong of a word for it, Florence said, quipping that instead it could be called Zillow mail. I mean, it's kind of corny, Andy. Right. Florence made the comment during an earnings call Tuesday, where he discussed his company's recent financial performance. Company overall posted strong earnings. Now, if you recall, they recently bought HomeSnap. So
he has a competing company.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So yeah. Okay.
And they're trying. Well, HomeSnap has been around for years, but they haven't been. Oh, you're resetting your camera. Okay. Sorry, I went right to you. So in the past, Florence has seemingly gone to great pains to avoid amplifying the apparent growing rivalry between his company and Zillow. I don't know that he has avoided amplifying that apparent growing rivalry, because every article that we cover about them two, like, they're both kind of going at it.
Yeah, I don't know if he's done anything he's amplified it for sure.
At Inman Connect now in January. That's the Inman Connect now is the name of the thing. Florence framed his company as an ally of real estate agents and said agents are rivals to Zillow. Okay. That framing seemed to suggest that Zillow and CoStar are also rivals, though Florence explicitly said at the time that they were not Zillow's competitor. During Tuesday's call, he seemed to go a step further. His point about blackmail came when discussing StreetEasy's practice of charging agents and how the platform displays agent names on listings, and, quote, the functionality where they're using other people's listings to try to get brokers' fees or agent fees. The idea is that agents will have to pay to work with Zillow or risk missing out on leads for potential clients. It's unpopular among the agent community.
But remember, if this is that same company that the agent was talking about, and I forget the agent, and I apologize for that, but they all allowed it to happen. Like, this is awesome. It's free. Let's all use this. Oh, now we all have to use this, and it's not free anymore. Dang it. And they're taking our leads.
Right. He said, we believe we could build a profitable, successful business without disintermediating our clients.
It's a great
CitySnap. That's what so HomeSnap's becoming CitySnap. It's set to launch in the middle of 2022.
Yes. City is more rental based sounding, I guess. But yeah, it's funny that he's like, that's blackmail. Oh, and I have this other company for you, by the way, that's not blackmail. So you use ours.
He says, this is a funny quote. We don't really have to do anything like what StreetEasy is doing, which is so unpopular, Florence said, in order to be financially successful.
Yeah, that's so
So
unpopular.
it's shade.
Yeah.
This shade brought to you by blinds.com. No, not really. Ryan Bokros, this is on the previous topic, but I thought it was a good quote, so I want to put him up there. He said, people are freaking out that iBuyers are going to take over the market while they can't handle 3,800 transactions across the country in a quarter. Far from taking over market share.
Right.
Yeah,
And it's less than 1% of the entire market.
Solid point. Solid point. All right. We're about to change topics a little bit, so I'm going to do a little bit of a room reset for the Clubhouse folks.
Wait, I think there was some mics flashing.
Oh yeah, there's Jan, there's Shane. Hey guys, Jan, that's a nice new headshot you have there, by the way.
It's
All right,
really
so I'm going to do a room
professional.
reset. Then I'm going to come to you, man. So if you are catching us on Clubhouse, you can always find us on Clubhouse. If you're following the Real Estate Networking Club, there's a little greenhouse at the top. So be sure you click that, follow the club. Also follow everyone up here, from me to Dan to this other thing called Bearded. That's the backup, which I'm going to have to switch to pretty soon because I think I'm running up on 10% battery life here. But all these other people with the green bean are people that I've talked to at length or that have contributed to us in the past. So feel free to follow them. David, did you change your David Rankin? I don't know. Yeah, I don't follow you yet, but hopefully you'll contribute here in a second. And I can tell people to follow you too. But feel free to follow anybody up on the stage. We really appreciate you guys coming up and contributing. I appreciate the messages that you're sending me on the back end, and the clues and the tips that you sent to us, and the news tips that you sent to us throughout the last couple of weeks. So it's really helpful for us to formulate the show. And one of the things that makes this show different is the back and forth live that we have. Dan and I don't pre-record the show on purpose because we believe that part of the value of the show comes from people that are watching and listening in. So we really appreciate you guys. And if my phone dies here in a second, it'll be just a second for me to switch it over to get the other Clubhouse. So let me bring up Clubhouse.
Wait for it. It will happen.
All right, here it comes. All right, Jan, what's up, man?
Hey, man, thank you so much. Really nice topic you guys had, and just wanted to add a couple points about OpenDoor, because I've had my fair share of exposure to the OpenDoor. So just wanted to Southern California, pretty much like LA exposure. So I remember like a couple of years ago, there was a listing I was working on, and it was kind of a gut job. It was great for investors, and I was trying to sell it for the sellers, almost like 100,000 more, and they sold it to OpenDoor like almost like 85 something thousand cheaper. Oof. Just for that certainty feature, and but they might as well got like 80,000 more.
Wow.
They kind of called me later and regretted it as they saw the market is just going up. And then on the other side, what I've seen is sometimes OpenDoor gets them and then puts them on the market, or sometimes they get even listings. And the one of my pet peeves for my showings, if I have a buyer that I take to OpenDoor, is that you can't even get the door to open. Like they never put a Supra. So especially if it's like a townhome or condo, you want to get into the complex, you will be calling someone out of the state. They don't know where the property is, what the code is. You're waiting with the buyer. You can't get inside the property. They don't know the code. They keep changing it. I mean, it's such good luck for sellers who like choose them to sell. And then even themselves, it's funny how when they decide to sell some of the things they like update and want to sell them, they really do a terrible job. Most of their listings here stay on the market for a long time.
All of them.
Interesting.
So just thought I'd share that as my exposure to them. I thought maybe a different exposure in other states, but that's what I've seen here.
Yeah, everyone I've seen, and thank you for that, Yan, by the way. Everyone I've seen in my area, when I've, I don't really look for these listings, but I'll drive by and see an OpenDoor. I have shown a couple, but I haven't shown it in a while, but I'll see them and they just sit, and they always start way too high on a price. And that's in this crazy market. They're starting way too high. They sit and sit and sit. But what they do, they'll take the loss, but they get sign calls, because if you're just a buyer and you're driving by, you're like, oh, cool, a house. And what do I have to do again? I have to text all my info to this number, and then they'll give me a code. They just captured all your info. So they're capturing, and then they get those leads. Maybe that lead wasn't right for that house, but they can sell that lead to someone else. So they're getting a lot of data out of these things, and they'll always sit. It's usually about a week and a half, 2 weeks. They start lowering their price. and then eventually they get there. And I think the last one I watched took 4 months to finally, maybe more, finally get someone in the house, and now it's closed and family has moved in.
Interesting. We don't really have any iBuying programs in our market. So we're starting to get some institutional investors that are coming in and buying it more. But there's no real iBuyer program here at all. So we don't have any kind of experience with it. So I appreciate you chiming in, Jan. Thank you. Wait, let me, you got something else. Hang on. Let me bring you back up. Hang on. All right. What were you saying?
I was just saying one thing that is even more painful. Same thing that Dan was sharing is like for you to schedule a showing. Like if you're on MLS, they've never put a super or anything like stuff like that. You have to call them, and a lot of times they're not available. And if you want to do it through their app, they even ask for your driver license. They ask for like same concept. They want to just get your data. So what matters to them is the data, not really showing the property, and that's why it sits there. And showing is really not easy, and that's why a lot of people can't even see their listings. It just sits there, and it's a lot of times
horrible,
overpriced if they're reselling it, and then it's underpriced when they buy it from the sellers. So that's with that.
How interesting.
Yeah,
and that would be very difficult to succeed in our marketplace, because there's just a lot of agents that would be like, oh yeah, I can't show that one because we can't. I mean, if you don't make yourself available, so we hire a showing service, because if you're not available to answer a phone immediately when an agent wants in right now, then they're not going to show your home. They'll just buy something else. So
yeah, and they have they just put those combo locks on it, where the door lock and everything, and they send you the code, and then you can get in. It's all Redfin does the same thing. It's trying to make it like, hey, you can just do this tour on your own. You don't need an agent. But what they're really doing is capturing your data.
It's like when I was in Nashville a couple of days ago, and they have different scooters there than we have here. So I had to re-enter in all my data and my driver's license and all that stuff just to get a scooter to unlock. Anyway,
that's a lot of info.
If they can unlock scooters that way, surely they can unlock doors that way. Anyway, all right. So FHFA to make desktop appraisals permanent. Oof. Is this the end? Are we going to have subprime mortgages? Desktop appraisals, temporary flexibility implemented in March of 2020 to keep the mortgage industry afloat amid lockdowns and social distancing, will become permanent. Federal Housing Finance Agency said today. Sandra Thompson, acting director of the FHFA, said both Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac will allow appraisals to be conducted remotely using public records such as listings and tax appraisals for purchase loans starting early 2022. Is Scap in the group yet?
I pinged him just now again.
Okay.
Hey,
Steph. Hey, Armando. Hey, Fred. Sorry, I'm saying hi to the people in Clubhouse. So yeah,
not just people in his head.
I know, right? The crowd erupted into applause on the appraisal news, which Thompson announced at the Mortgage Bankers Association annual convention and expo in San Diego. It's the trade association's first large-scale in-person event since 2019. Whatever.
I think that's a little bit egregious. They erupted into applause. Yes, desktop appraisals are a thing. Really?
Well, I mean, appraisers have been. And you could say it's of no fault of the appraiser, it's just the market, but it has been stopping some deals from going through. This can help each appraiser complete more loans in a day. And it can also help rural communities more readily obtain a necessary appraisal, which the borrower is purchasing a property. This certainly should allow lenders and borrowers and appraisers alike to take advantage of the efficiency gains that desktop appraisals can provide.
Yeah, and this just isn't on because when it started, it was, obviously at the beginning of the Rona 1.0, not 2.0.
Right.
And it was just to kind of keep lenders going, and keep transactions together, because we were like, how do we close these things? So it was a good thing, and it was on purchases, but then it was kind of like, all right, we're going to probably maybe keep them just for refis. But now it does mention that they're doing it on purchases as well.
So
I don't know.
This guy named Mark Skapinets.
Yeah, who is that, by the way?
Who we
commented on the article,
right? Who we know as Scap. He commented on this article, and he said, "So with this announcement, who is ultimately responsible for the report? There is currently no responsibility for the data collector at this point. What if they provide bad data? Wow." Yeah. Then he says, what if the appraisal is done based on bad data? will data collectors be responsible for their part in this transaction?
They're not
Will
licensed.
they be licensed or certified by the states to remain unbiased in their data collection? How will they be selected? Lots to be determined before this is put in motion. That's a great point.
Did you mention that he's an appraiser?
Yeah, Scap is an appraiser.
Yeah, so that's an actual appraiser asking these questions, not a real estate agent, not a lender. That's an actual appraiser saying, cool, but, you know, and I think that point he makes about the actual data collectors, because they're solely going to go off data. And what if it's a listing that you're trying to get appraised that doesn't have a lot of pictures on it? What data are they using?
Yeah.
Are they using old, outdated pictures? Are they just going to go, well, I don't know what the inside looks like, so I'm just going to guess at it based on this data? Then it comes back to the data. So are the data collectors, like, I would guess, and we've said this on the show about many, many other things, but at some point there's going to be a desktop appraisal that comes in low or too high or whatever the case is, and someone's going to go, where'd you get that data? And it's going to start a lawsuit. It's going to open doors that we shouldn't be opening right now.
Open doors. I see what you did there. So I mean, they say that data should be unbiased, but I can tell you right now that there's some neighborhoods in our marketplace where you have $1 million homes by, you know, $100,000 homes. And for, let's say desktop appraisers become a thing. Okay, great. But how do you know that the appraiser is even local that's looking at the data?
That's what I want. So
they could just be licensed. They could be from anywhere in the world. They could be licensed, and all they're doing is looking at an overhead map of these numbers. I mean,
so
it's
specifically for you, Ray, because I'm, you know, by people where Ray lives. He doesn't live by anybody. He's more rural than I am. Sorry, just kidding. But it mentions that this should help. Like if I have 5 appraisals to do today, and they're all on acres and acres of properties, that's going to be tough to get to all of those, to see all of them and to see everything. So I understand that, but, and Ray, you'll know more about this as well, but what if there's something specific about that property they should have gone and physically seen that's not in data? It's not in a picture. It's not in, they should see it and go, dude, these have great views, or whatever it is that helps the appraisal process. I
can easily understand the flip side of the coin with agents around there going, well, why are we even doing appraisers? Market value is what one person's willing to sell it for, what one person's willing to buy it for.
Yeah.
You know, okay. You know, you could also say, let's just let the market determine it and get rid of appraisers altogether. But it seems like
the bank
a good idea to have someone else look over the numbers and say, yeah, this is legit. That seems like a good idea. So how do you speed that up without endangering the, you know, resale of these loans on the open market? Because that's what's happening, is that those loans are then being sold, and that sale is based on the investor getting that appraisal and saying, yeah, it looks like it's a good deal. The investor doesn't do their own. They use the one that the bank's providing. So I'm torn. Part of me is like, yes, finally get rid of it, because there's been some appraisers that are just real jerks about it. And, I've done a comparative market analysis, and it looks like the price is right, and we go under contract at a right price, and then the appraiser comes in $30,000 under or $20,000 under, and you're like, man, what are you smoking?
You know, you didn't go see the property, did you?
Yeah, something is up, something is afoot. And there's one particular appraiser here locally that, for whatever reason, every time I get him, I can tell the lender he's going to miss it, because every single time he's done an appraisal for one of my listings, he's off, and it's always off low. It's never off high. And so there's something like, why? What is that? And he's not off for other agents, I've asked. So what's going on? I didn't talk to him ever.
Does he have trouble growing a beard, Ray?
but that's the kind of thing that needs to be taken out. And I can complain about it all I want, but I mean, the appraisal board, there's nothing I can do.
You can just say, please don't send me this. Ow, cat's biting my foot.
Sorry. I literally, recently it happened, and there was an agent. I said, who's the appraiser? And he sent me, and I sent a message to him and the lender and said, the appraiser is going to come in low. And he said, how do you know this? I'm like, he always does. I don't know. Yeah. So there's stuff like that, that's the reason why everyone erupted, because they want to get these deals done. They want them to be faster. They want to do desktop appraisers. But just because you have a desktop appraisal doesn't mean that it's going to appraise either. You could have a lot of desktop appraisals that come in low because they're not actually looking at some of the things that they should see in person. So
that's the biggest thing to me. And it's not always just about, oh, this house has a different vibe than all the other houses in the neighborhood. There are things you need to see about certain houses. Location could be a huge one. How close is it to a school? Does it have views? Does it have a pool that wasn't shown on the listing? And
I mean, Brian Bokros says data variance equals risk mitigation. Yeah, I almost think there should be like an error. Whenever you do survey data and whenever you do statistical analysis of something, there's always like a margin of error. And I feel like if they're going to go desktop appraisers, computer appraisals, automated appraisals,
how much
then they should have
going to give you?
Yeah, they should have a comfort for error. So if it comes in $1,000 under, well, that's within this error portion. So it's good. You're just going to continue on.
But now if I get a low desktop appraisal on my listing, can I challenge that and say, hey, where did you get the data from? Who's your
Ryan
data?
Bokros says investors will build an allowable variance that don't exist when doing real life appraisals. I hope. All right. Uh-oh. Hang on, David. Just a second. Let me bring you up here. Hang on just a second. All right, David, what's up, man?
So I'm a little rusty in my history, but I'm pretty sure that's how the saving on loans crisis got started, right? Banks were giving loans on property that didn't actually have buildings and stuff like that. And, if nobody's out there to actually verify what's on property, that could be a major risk down the line. And we've had similar issues in history for the exact same issue. And that's why we came up with certain laws.
I don't know the history either on the savings and loan crisis, but I just Googled it. 1970s ended with a total cost of $160 billion. Woo! $130 billion was put on taxpayers. But that's a good point. But so we're saying that there's a risk because those appraisals weren't done. But what they would then probably say is, well, they're still doing appraisals. They're just doing them desktop.
Well, what if the building burnt down though? What if the building burnt down, or there was, some major issue, and nobody goes out there to verify that property, and the photographs online aren't up to date? You're providing a loan on something potentially that you have no valid proof of. That's what happened originally.
That's a good point. That's a great point. Yeah.
It's like the same thing. Like if you're going to go buy a used car from a third party, from from a regular consumer that owns the car, there's really nothing that makes them say this car was in a horrible accident. And when you drive it down the street, the wheels are going to be crooked and you're going to be that car that's driving that way. It's kind of like, and I don't mean to liken those two to one another because it's a little extreme, I believe, but there's a lot of things that couldn't be pulled from this data, and that's a big data variance if something had burned down, but we didn't tell you.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, insurance would come in there and cover it. All right. Yeah. So what could go wrong, Dan? Speaking of, foreclosures are surging now. The Rona mortgage bailouts are ending.
Another horrible headline, Ray. Yeah. Horrible.
But wait.
Horrible.
But there's a subheadline. But they're still at low levels.
Oh, wait, where? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. So foreclosures are starting to surge as government and private sector programs designed to help homeowners deal with the economic fallout during the Rona pandy have begun to expire. Mortgage lenders began the foreclosure process on 25,209 properties in the third quarter, a 32% increase from the second quarter. On a year-over-year basis, a 67% increase from the third quarter of 2020. And that's according to Adam, a mortgage data firm, who a lot of you have told me that you don't like the Adam data. So, okay.
We've heard that a lot, by the way. So we always go with a
disclosure.
It's a grain of salt.
That's right. So while increases in foreclosures are dramatic, they're coming off extreme lows that were created during the forbearance program. New foreclosures are also known, I kind of want to end it there. We've talked about this. We said, guys, be on the lookout for an increase in the number of foreclosures that are going to happen. And as those foreclosures happen, keep in mind that's because the forbearance program is then ending, and they've been trying to foreclose on these properties now for a year, and they can finally do it. And the person's probably not even in that house anymore. And so we've already said all this, and it's just showing you that yes, the foreclosure. What is it called? Why can't I think of the foreclosure mandate? It's not mandate. What am I trying to think of?
What?
Where they don't allow it.
The forbearance?
No.
Oh, geez, I can't either.
Yeah. I can't think of the English word.
I know.
I can't think of the English word.
You were in Nashville, that's why.
Anyway, there's so many jeans in Nashville. I have to say, I was like in
names,
like blue
pants?
jeans. Like I was in some relatively nice shorts and a t-shirt. It felt so out of place. Moratorium. That's the word I was trying to think
Elizabeth,
of. Moratorium. Moratorium. The foreclosure moratorium has ended. But anyway, I felt way out of place in Nashville because of the amount of blue jeans that everyone wore.
Good thing I have lots of blue jeans in my wardrobe. But
there you go.
Just finish on the last. It's a point made at the end of it. So the number of active forbearance plans fell by 177,000, led by an 84,000 plan drop among FHA and VA loans as of October 5th. I think this article was a little old. I think this might have been right after the show 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
As of October 5th, nearly 1.4 million borrowers remained in Rona-related forbearance plans, representing 2.6% of all active mortgages. So the market's not going to be. We're just getting back to normal. We're still lower than our normal monthly averages on foreclosures. We're just getting back to normal. So foreclosures are not going to flood the market and kill everything. We're not going to die.
Yeah,
you'll be fine. Calm down. You'll be fine. Everything's okay.
Speaking of people in need of assistance, billions in aid are still available to struggling renters.
I
talked about this several times too.
I was going to wait till the end of this because it doesn't say. This article goes through like, here's what's happening. And then it says, it answers all the questions. What do I do if blah, 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 or why haven't, but it doesn't say where this money is. Where's the money? Yeah, where's the money, Ray?
Congress allocated more than $45 billion in aid. More than 6 months after the money was authorized, most of it is still available.
Where's the money?
1/5 of the funding, or $10 billion, has reached households. 10 billion of the 45 billion.
Where's the money? Politicians, what are you doing with it?
Where is it? There's another article that Dan sent me that talked about how Georgia hadn't paid out hardly any.
Yeah. And it's here, I have the article. Let's see.
You could get up to 18 months of assistance, including a mix of payments for back and future rent.
Yeah. So this is from, geez, I don't know what this website is. The Atlanta, I think it's called. But the headline is
Matt LaMarche just joined us. Welcome, Matt.
There you go. So Matt Malarche is how you say his last name. Georgia was slow to spend rent assistance money. The federal government might want some of it back. So I just did a quick search to see. I'm trying to find where this money is, Ray. And and I found this one, and I'm like, oh, Matt Malarche can. I'm sorry, dude. I can't say your last name correctly anymore. Matt LaMarche. And I don't need to hit the whole thing, and I'd love to hear Matt Malarche's comments on this. But by September 30th, the Georgia Department of Community Affairs had dispersed just 9% of the $552 million in emergency rental assistance, or ERA, that was allocated by the U.S. Treasury Department, well below the 30% threshold federal officials had established to decide which ERA grantees get to keep all their money. So by a certain time, they had to get out 30% of it. They only got 9% of it out. And it's there was a good one.
So we've talked about this on previous shows too. Like, you have to have your renter and you have to have the landlord both apply for this stuff.
Right.
So that the rental assistance goes to where it's needed. And so there have been a lot of landlords that have applied, and the renters haven't complied with applying.
And they are also trying, and I get the part of it is you're making sure that fraudsters, that's what we Zoomers call them, fraudsters don't get their hands on this money. But it seems like
that's a good move.
100%.
Yeah.
But that has to be smaller cases, and the money is sitting somewhere where fraudsters can attack it. Hackers can get in and attack it. So
it seems like in the absence of the assistance, there should be an allotment for eviction.
Exactly. If the assistance has been sent out, it's to your local entities, right? Yeah. And both renter and landlord.
Let's say the landlord has applied,
but the renter won't. Okay, cool.
The renter won't, and they're not paying. Then
you can evict them.
Yeah, they should,
because we're trying to say
your local eviction moratorium.
Dear renter, we're trying to say, hey, we have assistance for you. The landlord can get this money for you. Just give us a few items of data, and we will give it to you. and they don't respond and they're not paying, well, let me get a renter in here that I can pay, that'll pay their rent.
Any comments from you, Matt LaMarche?
Come on, Matt.
I mean, I've always got something to say. So yeah, given the opportunity. No, I mean, so as a landlord myself, I just went through this. I had a tenant that was not paying for a number of months. I applied. They had to go in and apply as well, which they never did. But they also made too much money to even qualify, and they were not affected by the pandy. So there were, you were really, really limited on what you could or couldn't get, and for them, they couldn't get anything because they just made too much money. But I'm 100% in agreement with you guys. We should have not just there's just way too much money available, it seems like, and the people that are not eligible to get it, no, it seems like no one's getting it, because I've talked to some institutional places here in Atlanta as well, and even they aren't getting it, and so they're moving forward with their evictions as well. So. Super frustrating. And to your point, we'd rather see people that A, are going to pay, but B, as a landlord, like, if this property was being or was mortgaged and had monthly cash flow missing, me as an individual investor, like, my net worth is coming down, my liabilities are going up,
right?
And there's a reason that I put a tenant in that house to rent it.
Great points.
Boco's joined in. He's got something to say.
What? Really?
Yeah.
Ryan is on Clubhouse. Is this your first time on Clubhouse, Ryan?
I think so.
This is my first time with you guys on Clubhouse.
Oh, look at you. Welcome.
Look at that pic, too. He's so happy and smiley.
The real
nice
Ryan.
Work, my dude.
He said it's not his wife, it's the real Ryan.
Yeah. Your wife sounds...
yeah, like Matt, we're seeing kind of a little bit of both. It seems as though individual landlords are having a hard time here. We've helped some folks try to get through that process. Individual landlords are having a hard time. The institutional and larger properties are the ones that seem to be getting the money. So if you've got an apartment complex owner who's got 10 units and they apply for 6 of those units, somehow or another, they seem to end up at the front of the queue when independent landlords or, just mom and pops with a property or two seem to just get the runaround. Yeah, it's interesting to watch. The landlord can go in and make the application and the tenant has to put their stuff in. On the flip side here, though, in Texas at least, I know that tenants can apply, and if the landlord chooses not to participate, I don't know what the specifics are, but the state will cut a check to the tenant, and then the tenant will have to be responsible for paying the landlord. But it seems to be mostly the cases that we've looked at. It's a 60 to 90 day process.
Wow,
you could speed that up. That's crazy. But at least it's being worked on, I guess.
It's a 60 to 90 day process. New foreclosures is like a 30 to 60 day. So, oh crap. Well, thanks for joining the show via Clubhouse, Ryan. It's good to actually hear your voice, so that's cool. And thanks for contributing, Ryan and Matt. We appreciate you guys stepping up and letting us know that you also can't get the money. I mean, that definitely needs a better process. It's weird. It's almost like senators that have investments in hedge funds, maybe REITs or something like that, are pushing those institutional investors to the front of the line. Maybe, just maybe. I don't know. Who knows?
If only, Ray, there was a tiny solution to this.
Oh, you're going to the other one. I went back. Hang on. I was going under. I was going to take Chicago under.
But, you were being flooded with information, weren't you?
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Oh, we're just going there then. That was a great transition. All right. Chicago is at risk as climate change causes wild swings in Lake Michigan. Chicago to Michigan. Keep your water. All right. The Great Lakes are often called the nation's third coast.
Want all your water.
In the past 5 years, the region has become the wettest on record. While the lakes don't exactly correlate to rising sea levels, Chicago now sits in a precarious position as oceanfront cities, heavier rainfall, and more frequent droughts are now causing extreme swings in the water levels of Lake Michigan. So we just thought this was interesting. The only reason why I wanted to bring it up, and you guys, what?
If there's more water, how is there more droughts?
Well, It's the swing. It's not just, it's the changing of the climate. It's
Yeah, I
not
saw an
just
article the other day here because we're always in a drought here in California, but it's wetter right now. We've had more rain and just more kind of overcast, where things are damper. But then I saw this article. It's like even extreme rains won't save us. We're all gonna die. I'm like, dude, can we just stop?
Well, you sound like a denier, Dan. Are you a denier?
No, I'm not at all. I think
you're gonna
things
get
are
kicked out of
melting.
California.
I just think things are melting and things. I get it. Things change. It's just how the world turns. That was a great show.
Mike Elizabeth Rodell gives them a tip. At Chicago, if you don't know it, you need beavers. I watched a documentary on it. Beavers prevent droughts. I feel like that was Mike.
Yeah, that seems like a Mike comment.
I mean, in the absence of beavers, they're going to get flooded. So you guys can read more of this. It's on CNBC. Basically, the only reason why we're bringing it up is because we've talked about in the past, we've talked about how potentially flood insurance due to climate change and all that kind of stuff, how it could impact it. And this is one of the first news stories since we've talked about that is blaming potential future floods and climate change. And so just get ready to see the increase in flood insurance across.
Which let's say this, or I'll say this. So yes, let's plan. Let's try to predict future floods, future natural disasters. Let's try to predict those things. Yes, let's make people aware of them so they can prep their homes and stuff. But let's not charge them exponentially for things that may never happen on their homeowners insurance. That seems a little egregious to me.
Well, okay. Let's go to the next story.
To buy just like a truckload of beavers and bring them in?
I think Chicago could find their own beavers. All right. So, Dan, I want you
tiny problem to have.
It seems like a tiny houses. Tiny houses are all the rage, but not for the home. This is for the homeless. LA has unveiled. I feel like that was a good fake news article. What news anchor that is kind of out of touch with society. So here we are. LA has unveiled the U.S. largest prefab tiny home village for the homeless. See inside the $5.1 million community. This is on Business Insider. Yeah. I just kind of wanted to show you guys this. We've talked about tiny homes a lot on the past. And we've also talked how they could be a cool solution for those that need houses that can't afford them. Yeah. And so this is the, let's see, the Seco. Is that how you say that?
Nope.
How do you say it?
Arroyo
Seco tiny homes village in Highland Park, California.
It's funny to hear someone from Arkansas say a word that we're very familiar with here.
I'm not familiar with that word at all.
Arroyo Seco.
So you guys can look. It's really cool. I like all the art and stuff on them. It's cool.
It's very, very festive and stuff.
I think we should check back in on this tiny home village in 3 years.
Yeah. See, that's kind of what my thought was. There was one that went live. I forget what the article says. I don't know if I made any notes on this one. Let me see. Nope. But they had one go live, this same company. Did you mention who the company is?
No.
You might want to, just so they get some props, because it's cool. They had one go live in February, and it only had, I think, 57 beds or 57 houses. Maybe it was 97. It was smaller than this community. It was smaller than this tiny community.
Hope of the Valley Rescue Mission.
Yeah,
is that the group? That's the
yeah. And
Hope of the Valley.
I just want to say this, that yes, homelessness is rampant. It's crazy. When you drive through downtown LA, you just see encampments. There was a spot by Angel Stadium where it was literally in between the freeway. So Angel Stadium is right off the 57 freeway, above where the 22 freeway. We're in California. We have to stay all the freeways. Have you ever seen that skit on Saturday Night Live, The Californians? So we're going to take the 10 freeway and we're going to hit the 5. Then we're going to go up and we're going to get off at Lankershim. And then it's a funny skit. Anyway, and where the Angel Stadium sits, it's you can see it right from the freeway. It's right there and all the parking. And then there's a water throughway and then up against that, it was homeless encampments for days. And that's been taken care of. And then but in LA, in downtown LA, it's rampant. It's crazy. So this is amazing. But I do have to say this part is that I'm sitting sideways. I don't know why for some reason, but we need to do something that prevents homelessness before it starts. We need to get, drug addiction and mental illness. We need to go into those things first. This is great to provide this. This is awesome, but we need to attack it at its source and find why. But
is there like a stipulation, like for people that use these homes, they have to be
that's what I
program?
Yeah. Do you have to be? So there are a lot of programs that will take these people and, if they have drug issues, or it'll get them clean, and they go through the entire process and then put them back out into society again. And those programs are amazing. They're awesome. So I wonder if this has any criteria like that, or do they just give you a bed? And then what's this going to look like in a few years, right?
Yeah.
But we need to kind of go back to the source of why this is happening and figure out why it's so rampant. And I think a lot of it is a lot of people come here, Hollywood and the dream and all that stuff, and they're like, it's really difficult. I'm going to do lots of drugs, and now I'm homeless. And also, just what about the people that couldn't afford their homes anymore and they're homeless? Do they get these beds over someone else that has bigger issues? And I don't want to judge any issues or minimize anyone's issues and compare them to anyone's, because any issue we should all do our best to address. But when it comes from mental illness or drug abuse or drug addiction, you have to address those at their source and fix that in the human being before, addressing this big problem. And again, these beds are great. These little tiny houses are cute and they're well designed and all that stuff. But I think there's a bigger issue because it's pretty out of control. It really is.
I wonder if the 3D printing and all that kind of stuff will kind of help groups like this to put out more.
Yeah. Where was that one? That was in Arizona somewhere? No, Santa Fe. I forget where that one was, where they 3D printed a bunch of tiny homes and the homeless people were really stoked.
Right.
Yeah.
San Jose.
So those Arroyo
Seco. Yeah. So there's there's good old Southern boy that was headed out. He was headed out west, and he stopped in and he said, "Hey, can I get to San Jose from here?" And the guy was like, "No, man, we don't say San Jose. It's San Jose." He's like, "Oh, okay." He said, "How long are you going to be there?" He said, "Well, a long time." He said, "Then I think I'm going to go to San Juan." And the guy was like, No. It's San Juan. With the J's or H's. It's San Juan.
Yeah.
And the good old boy was like, "Oh, okay. And the guy said, "Well, how long are you going to be out there?" And the guy said, "Well, till about Hoon or Hula.
Maybe January."
And with that, we have reached the end of the show.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody for joining us today. Dan, before we leave, could you tell everyone where they could find you?
On Cash App. Just go to Cash App. Only
Cash App.
I'm only at Cash App. It's D-Letter Grox, the little money sign, then D-Letter Grox. That's it. I've never made it. Well, I have. I've made $5 off of this show now. Thank you to Matt LaMarche. And because he is a donor to the show, I will say his name properly this time. He sent me, and I've bought multiple cups of iced tea with that, so I appreciate it. But yeah, just go straight to Cash App and D-Letter Grox. But I'm just kidding, kind of, not really. Everywhere, D-Letter Grox. Go follow me on Instagram. That's the best place. Or here on Clubhouse as well. Ray, where can they find you on Cash App?
Ray Zorback. Actually, on Cash App, I think I'm just my name, Ray Ellen. Yeah. I don't know. I'd have to figure that out. But you can also give through Clubhouse, which is cool. But I am Ray Zorback, RayZorback. Follow me on the Instagram. I will, within a week, I'll post a picture of me doing a flip. Lucky y'all. So thank you guys for joining us. Be sure you subscribe, hit the bell if you're following us on YouTube, Facebook. Also, you can subscribe. We really appreciate it on Facebook if you share the show, because like I said, there is absolutely zero organic reach because they killed it. And so the only way that this show gets promoted on Facebook is if you actually work to do that. On Clubhouse, be sure you're following the Real Estate Networking Club. That's the little greenhouse at the top. Click that club and join it, become a member.
Which now has 28,000 plus members.
28. Wow. I think it's the largest real estate club on Clubhouse.
Yeah.
Be sure you're following all of the people up here at the top. Some of you guys, we didn't get to the comments, so I appreciate y'all being patient. Thanks, David, for contributing. Cindy, I see you. Hey, from Salt Lake. So thank you guys, Matt, Andy, Armando, Teresa. She's been on the phone forever. Maybe my app hasn't updated.
Yeah.
Anyway, Steve and Ron, thank you guys for joining us. Thanks for bringing people in using that plus button. We really appreciate it because one of the reasons why we do the show live is for the instant feedback that we get from y'all, and so the input is really great. And so we appreciate you. So we'll see you guys next time. Say bye, everybody.
Love you guys. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.